So if you haven't, I strongly recommend you check out a YouTuber called RGT85. If you like my content, then most likely you're going to like his content. They're basically just gaming news topics, but he does more retro videos, so if you're into retro and gaming news topics, you're going to love his channel, and trust me, he makes some pretty high quality videos. Well, recently he published a video called "Did Sony Pay Off Capcom to Not Support the Nintendo Switch?" asked RGT85. And in that video, he just discusses his thoughts on the rumor that Sony actually paid Capcom to not release the new Monster Hunter Worlds game on the Nintendo Switch, because when it was being revealed, there was no sign of a Nintendo Switch port being made, and that angered quite a few people. That's really why this rumor is spreading everywhere, because people want to know if Sony actually did this, and if they did, it makes sense, but it also kind of feels like, I don't know how to describe it. I'd kind of say cheating, but that's kind of a bad word to use because it doesn't really describe it that well. And I don't like using cheating as defining what Sony did if they did actually do it, because they aren't really cheating. All they're doing is just paying a company to not support something, which, I mean, like, that's pretty similar to doing a lot of different business moves. People are saying that Microsoft might pay developers to actually make the games on the Xbox One X look better so that people might buy the thing so they can get a better experience. And if they do that, that's not really cheating, so that's why I don't really like the term cheating. RGT85, he didn't use that term, but that's kind of just what I thought at first, but it's not really cheating. So if you do think that, then that's just why it probably isn't cheating. But I'm gonna move on to another. So why would Sony actually pay off Capcom just to not make a Nintendo Switch port, or even just support the thing in general? Really, I think it's because the thing is selling so well, and Sony wants, because you have to, I forgot to mention this. This is a rumor, so this probably isn't true, but it could be true. So again, keep that in mind. This is a rumor. And I just think that if Sony did pay him off, it does make sense, because I feel like Sony is a little bit scared that they might lose a bit of sales, because it's obvious that the Nintendo Switch version is going to sell more, because guess what? The Nintendo Switch is a much more portable system. Monster Hunter started in Japan. Japan has, like, a huge market for portable systems, and a bunch of other reasons, like, for example, they want to keep a game that sells very well on Nintendo platforms away. It's interesting to think that if Sony did pay off a company to not support the Nintendo Switch, then they clearly know, they're acknowledging that the Nintendo Switch could probably damage their market share, I would think, because if the Nintendo Switch becomes a massive success, like, let's just say, just for the hell of it, the Nintendo Switch sells 100 million units. I know we can't make predictions this early, but why not? You know, there's no reason why we can't. It's not going to hurt anybody. I think that if that does happen, and Sony can probably see that happening, they're going to want to keep as much market share they can get, because soon it's going to be gone, and the Nintendo Switch is showing signs of destroying market share, and it's really taking Nintendo to a whole new level with their consoles, because again, with the Wii U just flopped. So now that Nintendo's coming back in a shocking way, companies might be a bit scared, not like third-party developers. Companies like Sony and Microsoft might not be as like, I don't know what to describe this as, but basically they probably won't be as, I don't know, confident in their market share, because now that they have a system that's selling much more better than a lot of their other systems, what do you think's going to happen to their market share? What do you think's going to happen to their system sales? Now, I know Sony's system, Sony's PlayStation 4 overtook the Nintendo Switch in sales for April, I think, and I guess that makes sense, because Sony has a huge a huge following and more reasons, well, not more reasons, but tons of other reasons that might be more appealing to people to buy a PlayStation 4. But the Nintendo Switch also has tons of other reasons, so I guess it makes sense. Sony just wants to make sure that they have at least enough of the market to just keep themselves afloat. I'm not saying that Sony is gonna, like, go into financial problems because of the Nintendo Switch. No, there's no way that in hell that's happening. But it definitely makes sense that Sony is acknowledging the Nintendo Switch as being successful. If this is true, if this is not true, and they just don't want to support the Nintendo Switch, Capcom, then okay, then everything I just said is not true. Well, it could be true, but still, if Sony at least does a little bit to make sure to future-proof, I'd say, or protect their market share. This is completely unscripted. I have no idea how to define this, and I'm also really tired. It just doesn't make sense why Sony would, though, not acknowledge this if the Nintendo Switch does actually extremely take off. So, I mean, if the game did come from the Nintendo Switch, it wouldn't hurt Sony's profits. It probably would be the best-selling version of the console, or of the game, and it still would be interesting to see, because I've never played a Monster Hunter game, and it would be interesting to take that with me. But again, business has been business. And one last point I want to bring up before I end this video is the thing that RGT said about how money is money, and that companies want as much of it as they can get. And if Sony paid him off, then that's the biggest reason for Capcom to do it. And really, I think that's true, because Capcom really showed a lot of love toward the Nintendo Switch, and they had great interest in actually supporting it, because they actually got Nintendo to add another gigabyte of RAM to the Switch. So they obviously know that the Switch is a real thing, and that it's going to have at least enough power for them to bring over games. And they were even talking about maybe bringing over some other game engines, and they need that 1 gigabyte of RAM to run properly. And so it's true that Capcom did have plans. And again, with the thing that RGT85 said, how okay, I don't think that Nintendo's going to keep or Capcom's going to support the Nintendo Switch. I think they are going to make one game or a couple games if they did get paid off, then they're probably not going to make any games. But if the thing gets really popular, which, spoiler alert, right now it is, then it just makes sense for them to, just release that. But that's just my thoughts. If you did find this video interesting, please do share this video on social media. RGT85's video will be in the description. If you have any thoughts on this, please leave them in the comment section below, and see you. I just spilled water all over my Xbox One.